In 2002, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, a modest retail store experienced a dreadful tragedy. Extensive water damage. The owner decided to document this tragedy on his store's little webpage. Among the images he shared was this photo. Many years later, savvy internet users discovered this photo and added a bit of a background story to it. Let me read it to you. Hold on. If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old, moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as heck has heard you. Hey everybody, it's your boy Ralph, back once again with another video. Today we're talking about the movie Backrooms. Now this thing is based on a meme from 2019 and made by a YouTuber. Now the movie itself is pretty cool actually. You know, it's not amazing or anything, but it is respectful of the solid source material. In the prologue I talked about where the original idea came from, but it was later expanded upon by a filmmaker by the name of Kane Parsons. He created these brilliant little short films in a found footage style and hosted them on his little YouTube channel. You know, he had outstanding skills in Blender and Adobe After Effects, and a flair for telling these little narratives. It's honestly great stuff, and it's well worth your time to check that out along with his other work. So at some point, the dimwits over in Hollywood ran out of ideas and hired this Kane character to direct a whole ass movie on the Backrooms concept. And so here we are. Now the movie itself starts out as a direct tribute to Kane's other work. The VH-style first-person foray into the titular Backrooms. The unnamed character with the first-person view, he's trying to get out of this space for pretty obvious reasons. It's kind of like he's exploring and on some kind of assignment, but it's not particularly clear. And he's not alone. There's some shadowy figure, all angles and sinews. This guy's aware of his presence, and is not at all pleased. In fact, it does not end well for our little camera buddy. And let's just leave it at that, I suppose. The movie proper begins sometime in the future. The time is not entirely clear, but given the clues, you know, the technology and the fashion on display, I'm gonna guess mid-90s. And we meet this well-dressed woman who's sitting by a car, watching the destruction of her childhood home. And she looks pretty sad about it, you know what I mean? And instead of spending more time with this lady, we meet this other dude. You know, this guy, his name is Clark, and he owns a sad little furniture store at a highway off-ramp. He's not a happy dude either. Couple of unhappy folks. Now thankfully the very next scene puts them in the same room to avoid confusion in us viewers. So this Clark is meeting with this lady, and her name is Dr. Mary Klein, and that's his therapist. Now a therapy scene is a bit of a cheat code. You know, you can get a lot of backstory and motivations by just the way people talk to their therapist, but it's handled well here. So what do we learn in this little therapy session? We don't learn very much about Mary, but we do learn that Clark is kind of a sad, lonely jerk. He's all bitter that his wife left him and took his house. I mean, on the one hand, that's a bit fair, I suppose, but they actually role-play the confrontation involved, and Clark does not come off all that well, just to put it lightly. Now I gotta give credit to the filmmakers over here. You know, they avoided the temptation of just stuffing the cast with a bunch of 25-year-old actors playing teenagers. That's kinda how most horror movies do it, right? And instead, kinda tell an adult story And it also helps to have solid actors in the parts. Oh boy. Alright, I need to pause for a second because I need to learn a couple of pronunciations over here. Okay, this guy's name is Chiwetel Ejiofor. And this lady is, Renate Reinsve. You know, it's important to pronounce people's names right. You know, it just shows a bit of effort that I think is appreciated. Either way, both these actors do a fine job in their little parts. And they help ground this movie in what we like to call gravitas, right? A little fancy word for you. So, the next night, Clark's wandering around his little furniture store. Because it also serves as a giant weird apartment for him, you know, because he lost his house to his old lady. And he notices some strange electrical nonsense going on in his basement, which serves as a really gross, you know, secondary showroom for his terrible furniture. And he starts poking around and, you know, what the heck is that? So he starts getting up close and personal. Uh-oh. Our boy is officially in the Backrooms. He knows this is a weird place right away, but he decides to go exploring nonetheless. In fact, he explores probably a bit more than most of us would in that situation. I might just kind of poke around the immediate environs, and then nope, right on out of there. But this is Clark. Clark's not a happy guy. So he keeps on trucking, though eventually he realizes that he might not be alone. And whoever or whatever is there with him might not be of the friendly variety. So he starts picking up the pace to get the heck out of there. And thankfully he does. At his next therapy session, Clark tells Dr. Mary all about this. You know, she's supportive of him as a human being, but she's not really buying the whole supernatural alternate dimension in his basement. Which is fair. But Clark doesn't take it well. He's kind of a bitter dude. So he storms off, promising to come back with some proof to show her. He recruits a couple of young people to help him gather evidence and explore even further. One of them even has a handy VHS camera. In fact, the whole movie then switches back to the VHS found footage aesthetic. And he's pretty effective at this. But as they go deeper into the Backrooms, the danger only increases. So I'm gonna stop there in terms of plot summary, because I don't want to do any serious spoiling of this movie. So I hinted at the beginning that this is a pretty good movie, but I do want to give a bit of a personal disclaimer. I really don't find this type of liminal horror all that scary. It's something about the way my brains work. I'm not freaked out by, you know, abandoned offices or weird gas stations, whatever is supposed to creep me out. But all that said, I did have a good time with this movie. It does a good job making you feel like this is a place that simply should not exist. A place of mystery and a place of danger. You do not want to hang out in the Backrooms for very long, if you can at all avoid it, you know what I mean? And the movie itself just gets more mysterious and quite a bit darker as it goes along. And the Backroom is representative of something I think of as a very positive trend. These various YouTubers becoming the next generation of horror masters. I think YouTuber doesn't even feel like the right word. It just happens to be the place where they upload their little short films, you know? When I think of a YouTuber, I think of, I don't know, a guy like me who's just rambling into a microphone saying whatever happens to be on his mind. But these guys are, they're legitimate filmmakers, and it's exciting to watch them make good on their potential, you know? And it just results in more fun and unique horror for all of us to consume. It does make me a bit nervous, though, thinking about what kind of nonsense Hollywood's gonna cook up next in response. Chances are, whatever they do, they're gonna blow it, though, right? They always do. There's a legitimate reason why movies like Backrooms and Obsession and Talk to Me, why these movies are successful. It's because they're original ideas that avoid the usual cliches. It's like we're watching something a bit new. And they're also made with a good amount of skill and care. So hopefully that'll continue. But my guess is that we're going to get something like Backrooms 2, more pools. So my final score for this movie is going to be 3 3/4 stars. Well worth your time. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you guys for consuming my content, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody. Bye.